Hey, this is Kevin from Kevin's Barbecue Joints, and in this episode I'm excited to bring you my interview with Ryan Newland from Backline Fabrication. We talked right as COVID was starting to shut things down in Austin, Texas. He is based in Austin, Texas, right on the cusp of Dripping Springs, right by Jester King Brewery, not too far away from Treaty Oak Distilling. In doing these interviews, I'm hoping to show you different facets of the barbecue world, especially pit building. I love pit builders, I love pits, I love live fire devices, I love everything about that. So I'm hoping with these interviews that you get to learn more about these pit builders, learn what makes them unique, why they stand out, and if it's somebody that you want to go ahead and have them build something special for you. With this interview, we learn about his journey from Burbank, California, through the world of car stereos to the movie industry, and we get deep into that. And it's really interesting because that's a world that a lot of people don't know much about, and he was part of a unique part of that world. And then his transition to moving to Austin. Along the way, we talk about his metal fabrication for people like Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, Britney Spears, and that is how he has the name Backline Fabrication. But we'll get into that so that way you'll get a chance to hear it from him. It's really interesting. And then we get into his pit building, and his pit building is unique. Right now, if you want a live fire device, he's about 2 to 3 weeks out, and if you want a pit, he's about 2 to 3 months out. And that is crazy lead times, considering a lot of guys are at least a year out, if not longer. So he's a great person to go to. And if you contact him, and if you're in a dire situation, he has a pit in the shop that he can lend you if you need to cook, to feed your family, to sell stuff, or if you have a crazy rush job, he can move stuff around so that it makes it work for you, because he wants to help people out in this dire situation. As you can see from the photos in the beginning of this YouTube video, if you're watching this on YouTube, his stuff is unique. All of his pits have fold-down stacks. He has a lot of really unique items. He's done stuff for Bangers. He's done stuff for Stephen Rossler. He recently did stuff for Liberty Barbecue in Round Rock, Texas, and he has these reveal parties that he does. He's a unique guy, a cool guy. You're going to love this. It's really, really interesting. And I feel like after listening to this, you'll probably want to buy a pit from him. He's a killer guy. I can't thank Ryan enough for taking the time. And the Kevin's Barbecue Joints podcast and YouTube show is sponsored by Treaty Oak Distilling. They're available at treatyoak.com, as well as AJ's Custom Cookers. He's at ajscustomcookers.com. And if you're enjoying these, please subscribe. That way you don't miss out. I'll do at least 2 to 3 of these per week, trying to bust these out during the pandemic, so that way we could have stuff to listen to and enjoy. And I love re-listening to these as I edit them, and hope you really enjoy these. Let me know what you think in the comments below or through DM. I have a website at kevinsbbqjoints.com with links to all the podcasts, all the YouTube stuff, photo content, tons of stuff, lots of stuff on pits, like Kevin's BBQ Joints on all the social media. But at the end, thank you so much. Stay safe. Good morning. How are you doing?
Hanging in there, living day by day, doing the struggle. There's a big struggle going on with this whole pandemic and stuff.
Yeah.
Orders aren't coming in, it's like everything's on hold. It's actually giving me a good time right now, though, to jump in and try to finish my backlog, and get everything smashed out,
That's true.
all in big chunks. So
there's that. It's just a shame that it's a shame that it's so open-ended. We don't know really when this is going to end.
Yeah.
I think this is good for people to see all the ancillary businesses that are connected to, because everyone talks about the restaurant world or they talk about the hospitality world. Well, you're connected to that, and it affects your business and your livelihood, and it's tough. It's touted when in Austin. Is there a shutdown already?
They have everything shut down, but I mean, we're not locked into our homes.
Yeah.
People are still able to run around. They just want you to be safe, and they want everyone to mask up and everything.
What are you seeing? Are you seeing people obey the rules, or are you seeing people abide by them, or are you seeing people walking around in groups and stuff?
No, not really groups. And basically all I'm doing is I'm staying at home, and then I come to my shop because I'm a one-man team.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of quarantined by myself no matter what.
So you've been isolating for a while.
For a long time. But it doesn't, from what I see, I mean, there's a lot of people, they're like exercising now. So on my way to and from the shop, it's like there's hundreds of people that you never would see. I mean, they're all they're all by themselves. They're walking as a couple, so not everyone's grouped together. But I've also seen photos and stuff like that from like downtown, like at Barton Springs Pool and stuff like that, where people would still try to be in big groups. But I think they did put the kibosh on that.
Okay, good. That's smart.
Yeah, I think they shut all that stuff down, like that those little areas where you could, join together. I think all that's closed off.
And then even in California, we're ahead of you. But in Los Angeles, the Channel 4 News or NBC News were calling out people from their helicopters. They would see people in a park playing soccer, and they'd call the sheriff's department, or they'd see people on hiking trails all grouped together, and playing basketball in Venice. So it was still like that here. I think that it's stopping some of the people. My friend posted some stuff yesterday of people at a farmer's market, and they're all together, and this is crazy times.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in Austin?
No, I did. I was born in Indiana, lived in Illinois, moved to Arizona. So I was in Arizona from like 3rd grade to 6th grade.
Okay.
And moved to California from then. So I did junior high, high school. All the years you remember, I was in Southern California.
Okay, now it's coming back to me. So where in Southern California?
I lived in Burbank.
Okay.
Recently. But I went to school in La Crescenta. So I graduated Crescenta Valley High School.
Okay. Well, no, my mom grew up in Burbank. My dad in Glendale.
So that's the same circle.
Yeah, same circle. And I in a past life, I opened up cheese shops, and there's 2 different Ralphs in La Crescenta and what's the other? There's La Cañada, La Crescenta, and so we opened them up in those. They're essentially Kroger's, and so I spent a lot of time there. That's a unique little area up there.
I used to work at that Ralph's in La Crescenta on Foothill.
Did you? Yeah. That's super small world. But it's interesting because that area, a lot of people in Los Angeles probably haven't even visited that area. It's like a nice, unique little area.
Yeah, right at the base of the foothills. Yeah, keep everyone away. That's good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're probably they're the safest right now. But I think a lot of people from the aerospace industry live up there. I think.
Yeah, because JPL's right down.
Yeah, that's what's there. Yeah. So then, what got you? Were you tinkering around with stuff? Like, were you good with your hands back then?
Yeah, I would say so. And I was mostly into like cabinetry and stuff like that. Like all through high school, I had I took 2 periods of wood shop for 4 years in high school. Awesome. I had 8 years worth of woodshop experience when I graduated.
I should have done that. That's so smart. No, that's great knowledge to have. It's important, I think.
Yeah. Well, it was cool because I needed so many different credits. So I did a 0 in first period woodshop. And then that was, all 4 years I did 0 in first period.
Wow. So you had to get there pretty early.
Yeah. It was like 6 a.m. or something. And then, but I finished all my requirements throughout all of high school. You have different projects from freshman to senior. Mm-hmm. I finished all the requirements my freshman year. So my sophomore, junior, senior year, I was able to build whatever I wanted.
Oh, that's cool. And so do you think that's a basis for your knowledge now and for how you work?
I think so.
It must be, right?
A lot of stuff came from there, and it's a shame that a lot of trades are out of the schools now.
I know.
Just for that reason. But as soon as I end up getting out of high school, we moved to Arizona. And that's when I got into car stereos. So I started doing car stereos, and that's where a lot of the imaginative work has to come from. Because we were doing like the custom cars, not just, deck and twos and stuff like that. We were doing the custom amp racks, custom boxes, and all that weird stuff. So then that makes you look at different vehicles and be like, well, how can I fit, 15 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag? You got to figure all that out.
I wonder how much that business, like right now, that business is gone. But it's like that was during, because I think you're probably a little bit younger than me, but that was, car stereos were like the biggest thing for the long.
Everything. It was a huge industry.
Yeah, it was massive, and I wonder, was that before the COVID thing? Was that it's still a big business, right? People, but it's different.
I think so, but you don't really hear too much of it anymore because 9 out of 10 cars come with all the crazy shit that you would put in as an installer. So they come with nice stereo systems. They come with cameras. They come with DVD players. And all. I think to me, when I got out, it was like right at a dying part of the industry. I thought, and it's not like that's why I got out. I got out because I was sick and tired of only making $30,000 a
year. Yeah. There is a cap to that, unless you have your own business, like you own like a business with like 15 guys doing that. And that's actually something that people were redoing. Like it was, a nonstop.
Always upgrades.
Yeah, always upgrades. But I think now, because of technology too, things are probably easier to put together, and it's more seamless as opposed to, I'm sure it was, some of the wires and things. It was very challenging.
Right now, it works out real good. Being in this industry, some guys don't even know how to wire up their own trailers and stuff. But it's like, So I'm real good at running the wires. I do everything internally. Like I hide everything. All my
That's
wires
awesome.
and my trailers are all in the tubing and stuff like that. And some people are like, well, how do you get around the bends and all that? Well, that's my secret, but
that's your forte, and that's what I want to talk to you too, because trailers are that's a huge part of your specialty is the trailer aspect. So then, how did you go from that? How did you end up in Texas?
Well, it goes to a different aspect after the car stereos.
Yeah.
Then I got into the movie business. So I worked in Hollywood for 10 years. That was my way out of car stereos.
What part of the business?
I did set building and
okay.
I ran a department at a set building company, and so I was the effects and metal fabrication coordinator. So
did you work with prop guys?
Yeah, oh yeah.
My grandfather was a prop man. He came from Ohio with the Warner Brothers to Los Angeles when they first started the Warner Brothers studio, and so my grandfather, my uncle, and then my cousin, it's like a family of prop. Like it's like a generational thing of prop men in the industry. I think, and then a lot of prop men became set decorators, isn't that?
Yeah, or set decorators will become prop men.
Oh, is that what? So how did you like that?
I loved it.
Yeah,
it was one of the best things that has happened to me. It really changed my skill pattern. It added a ton of skills, a ton of knowledge, a whole different mindset of work ethic. I'll tell you 100%. Like the first time you start working in that and people are telling you what to do and all this kind of stuff, you just want to give them the finger and be like, who do you think you're talking to, because in car stereos, there's always like an attitude, of like stuff. And man, I got broke of that attitude real quick. It was real quick. So if you don't confine by the rules of the film business, then you don't work.
Yeah.
And you're not making any money.
And if you play that game properly, you could have a career forever.
Yes. So all of a sudden it becomes if you're getting yelled at, by people, it's like, yes, sir, I'll take care of it. You just swallow your pride and you just do what you got to do. And honestly, when you do that, you gain the respect of so many people. And they're like, man, this guy got it down. They do all their work, and this is how it is. And I picked that up from a whole bunch of other guys watching the set decorators and all this. And I became good friends with a lot of them, and just watching the way they work, because they've all been in the business way longer than I was. It was mind blowing, honestly, on how everyone bites their tongue, but at the end of the day, it's like, all right, well, that's cool. That makes everything cohesive with everybody around, and and it makes that big bond of the family of the film.
And it's good for you too, because it's good for the future, because you deal with so many different types of emotions and how to deal with different types of people, because
100%.
there's like producers and directors that you're like, how do they continue by treating everyone so poorly? But in the end, like, that they're really good at what they do. It's maybe they were treated that. It's a really weird industry. I worked as a PA at Fox Studio for a little while, and I worked in the mailroom at Fox Studio, and it was interesting to just see the dynamic. And there's people that are super cool, but they also roll with the punches. You just have to deal with the. And probably didn't surprise you when all that stuff was coming out, like the Me Too stuff and all those things, because you see how people act, and there's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of things. People get power hungry and crazy.
Yeah, it was cool too. When I was in the business, we did mostly, I'd say 95% TV commercials.
Oh, nice.
And the money in TV commercials, the budgets were huge,
insane.
You couldn't believe it. You're doing one commercial, and art department budget's like $2.5 million. You're like, oh my god,
isn't that crazy? It's just
for a 30-second spot. And you're like, holy cow! But when it comes down to it, that was the cool part about having that job. I was paid to play, so it's like you would get a thing, especially being in the fabrication, end of the set company that I worked for. It'd be like, okay, here's this. We need this to work. This has to do this. Or this needs to blow up at this point in time, or water needs to spit out at this point in time. And you're like, okay, well, how in the hell do you do that? So you're literally paid to play. You're sitting there trying to figure all this stuff out. You're doing everything you can to, get all your ducks in a row to make everything work for that camera. And you're constantly sending videos to the art director, who then is talking with the director and things like that. So you get to watch a lot of really cool stuff. But with that being said, you're blowing through a ton of money in buying parts. But every time you buy a part, it goes in a bin, and now you have that in your arsenal, for things for the future. Which then ups your limit of what you can do, because now you just have a whole shit ton of toys in boxes. You're like, yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, like you're building your business with their money, and you're learning with their money. It's a weird. I wonder too with this whole COVID thing if that's going to change the way the industry is.
God, I really hope not, because that's like such the cool part of the industry. But man, with everyone, the whole industry is completely shut down right now. God, I can't wait to see the recovery of Hollywood. And I still do stuff in the entertainment business now when I'm not doing smokers. So I'm hoping that Hollywood gets so damn busy after this COVID thing.
I think it will.
I could run on the coattails on the overflow, because they don't care where it comes from, as long as it's done right and as long as it's done on time.
And what's interesting, I noticed, because on your website too, you have something. Isn't it from Katy Perry?
Yeah, I did stage props for Katy Perry's last world tour, her Witness tour, and right after that, I did stage props for Pink's Beautiful Trauma tour.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was that when she was like flying around on stuff, or was that the tour?
Yeah.
Oh, it was. Okay.
And literally everything on her set was like bright, hot pink. So we had some cool colors in the shop at that point in time. It was real lively.
And was that at this shop that you're at right now?
It was at my old shop, a lot smaller than I had. So it was once you build one thing and you put it in the corner, well, that's a third of the shop. So now you're down to no.
That's true.
So when I did Katy Perry, it was such a huge setup that we did. Everything was so big. I actually packed a bunch of my tools and I drove out to California, and we rented a shop out in California. And then one of my buddies who owns a set shop out there also, or a set company, he came in and helped me with it. And we had all the crew and everybody there. I think I employed 35 to 40 guys, all within 3 weeks. We did the tour within 3 weeks.
And was it something that you built that could be broken down? Is that like it's?
Yeah, everything has to be broken down and be able to put on either a 4 foot by 8 foot or 4 foot by 10 foot. Okay. They call them prop carts. So everything has to break down and fit on those prop carts and able to go into either the airplanes once it goes on the world tour, and just semi trucks once it's in the United States. They'll travel them by trucks. But you also have to take in consideration. So because I was doing it so long, all the different aspects of how it is. Yeah. So then you find out where the tour is going. And if the tour is going to Europe, they have a whole different size trucking setup. So now your prop carts can't be 48 inches. They have to be 44 inches because they only have an 88-inch span inside the truck.
Oh, that's so interesting.
It's all these weird things. And then you also can only be so tall in order to get inside the airplanes. Back in the day when I worked at the old shop, we did Lady Gaga Born This Way wall, and she had 52 semi-trucks worth of props.
52 semi-trucks.
It took 2 747s for them to fly her stuff across the pond.
It's so crazy too, like that, and that's like when you realize, well, that's why they charge $120 a ticket, because like it's expensive for the tour. Then they have to make a lot of money. There's like so many different people that need to make money along the way.
And those props, they're not cheap, to build.
Did you go from that to building props for entertainers and stuff, and then the smokers? Like, how did you get to this? How did you get to where you're sitting right now? Like, this is really cool. This is interesting because I was careful not to listen to your other interviews, because I love to learn stuff along the way, because then at least I'm hopefully listening with some people that haven't heard your story. So how do you get to where you are right now?
Well, I say we. So it came to a point where I was ready to get out of the company I was working at. I was ready to move on. I was ready to actually get out of California. Too expensive.
No, I feel the same way right now.
We were making really good money, and I couldn't buy a house. We were renting 800 square foot house. We had a pool and stuff, a nice yard, but we were paying $2,500 a month for 800 square feet.
Sad.
And, it was terrible. So I asked my wife, and I met her at the company that we used to work at. She was a scenic at the same set company. Oh, cool. So I asked her, I said, if you could move anywhere in the United States besides New York and California, where would you want to go? And she said, I'd like to go to Austin. We made a trip out here to Austin, and we looked for jobs, and I found a job, and then we tried to find a place to live, all within, 5 days that we came here to visit. So I got a job within the first 2 hours after we landed.
Okay.
And then, so that was lucky. We found a rental house that was 2,400 square feet for $1,600 a month. So we were like, yeah, we're going to move here. So anyway, we went back to California, gave my 2 weeks notice basically at the job, and we packed all of our shit and left within 2 weeks.
What was your job then?
I worked for a company called Steelhouse. So we did architectural and structural steel for residential and commercial building. Completely different from what I was doing in LA.
Were you welding a lot in LA?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Where did you learn how to weld?
Started in the car stereos.
A small degree, right?
Tiny stuff, yeah. And it was just booger welds. I mean, it looked like bubble gum on top of others, but they were for amp racks and stuff like that. It just had to hold, because everything was hidden at that point. And then when I started into the studio business, my boss, his name was Albert, him and I actually became like best friends, and he just started teaching me a bunch of stuff, and then I picked up a bunch of stuff. And
so you just learned along the way. You didn't go to welding school or?
No. It's all taught in-house. But I remember one job that we were doing is made out of aluminum. It was this big skylight for a Home Depot commercial. And Albert got stuck going, and I didn't weld aluminum. And Albert got stuck going on to, he was on set for like 3 days on something else. And he's like, you got to build this skylight. And I've only watched him do aluminum. And I was like, dude, I'm like, all right, I'll do it. Sure as shit, I built that thing. I mean, my welds weren't very good looking, but that's what our scenic department came in for, and they could clean all that up. Yeah. But basically I had to teach myself by watching somebody how to weld aluminum. And then after that, everything got better. And like all our stage props and stuff we do, all the stuff we've done for Gaga, Katy, Britney Spears. I mean, I've worked with all the big artists out there. Wow. Everything we do for stages is made out of aluminum.
Is it because it's malleable or because it's so light?
Lighter. Yeah. So, you get all these stage crews, and they're trying to put everything together. They don't want to be, I mean, half the shit's heavy anyway. Mm-hmm. So I can't imagine if it was out of steel, you're adding another couple 100 pounds, I'm sure.
Easily,
it's not fun.
That's hard work what they're doing. It's also usually rushed or at a weird time of the day.
And that's what makes everything else so strange when you do that kind of stuff. There's not a drawing or there's not blueprints that say, here, we want you to build this. Here's your cut list. Here's the hardware you need to use, whatever. They hand you a rendering, which is like a cartoon drawing, a really good one. I mean, they look good. And then they'll give you a parameter. This wants to be 6 feet tall by 5 feet wide or, whatever. So now you're looking at it and you're going, okay, now I got to build this and scale it out. So now the outside parameter, but you have to make everything else work and make it break apart and make it go together easily and make it so that you're using like quick release pins. Because when you put all the tour stuff together, you're not going in with tools.
No.
It's like these guys have their gloves on. They're taking stuff off the prop cart. They need to be able to throw it together, put it on stage. It runs for its 2 minutes on stage. It comes off. They break it back. They put it on the prop cart. It goes back in the truck.
Wow.
Unless they're doing a multi-day concert. But usually they're in one spot for one day. So it goes right when it's off the cart, onto stage, off stage, on the cart, into the truck.
Is there a certain type of insurance you have to have for that too? Because that's a lot of liability but there's also all the guys that are doing that. I guess they're union guys. They have insurance too. It's like a whole.
Yeah, but when you're doing Backline's been hired for Katy and Pink and we did Gaga stuff we did one thing for Gaga when she performed at the Super Bowl.
Oh.
All those require a $2 million umbrella.
That makes sense. Yeah.
A $2 million policy. So when that's said too, I have to run with the $2 million policy the whole time that they're on tour. Basically, even if I'm just sitting here cranking away on smokers, if Pink's still running around with my props, I'm still paying for a $2 million policy. So,
yeah, people don't know about that. That's
there's a lot of that weird stuff and the aspect, that is behind the scenes that a lot of people don't realize, and getting into even like the smokers and stuff. And I know a lot of pit builders and all these guys are always, everyone's like, oh man, that's kind of expensive, but nobody knows how much time it takes to cut the stuff, weld the stuff, grind the stuff, clean it out. It's a process. They don't just put themselves together.
Mm-hmm. No, they don't. And if they did, and the ones that do aren't good.
And if it was easy, everyone would do it. So
exactly. When you moved to Austin, were you starting to get into barbecue?
No, I kind of got into barbecue when I was still in California.
Okay.
So the guy I worked with, his name was Phil Raitt. He was one of our construction coordinators at the job I was at.
Yeah.
He'd always come in and bring in barbecue. He makes a really good pulled pork.
Oh, so he would bring it himself. Okay.
Yeah, he would come in and bring it to the shop and, try and it was really good. And I was like, man, I need to learn how to smoke food. Okay. So I didn't go, and go buy a normal commercial rig. I was like, nah, you know what? Screw it, I'll build one. So I built my first smoker. Man, that was a piece of crap.
Was it like a little mini offset or?
No, man, it was a 55-gallon drum, horizontal, and then I used an old air compressor tank directly underneath it as the firebox. And I didn't know that you have to have a different, like the firebox size is a big deal.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I mean, it worked, and we made really good barbecue out of it. It was just a piece of junk. And when I moved out from California, I left it with Phil, and then he used it for a long time. And actually, when I came out and I did Katy's tour, because I drove, I brought it back with me.
So you still have it?
I was going to keep it, and I had it here for a while, but it was just taking up space and stuff. So unfortunately, like a month ago, I gave it to the scrap guy, and it's gone now. But
that would be like a cool thing to have, like forever.
That's exactly what I thought until I had to keep moving it out of the way all the time.
Yeah. And in the end, like especially like after like this whole COVID thing, like it's that little thing doesn't matter. Like it's what matters. There's a lot of, and also too, like you need space. You have a business. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So with that little smoker, I was making a little bit of barbecue, and I was making jerky all the time on it, because
cool.
that was going to make jerky on, because it ran really low unless you really filled the entire air compressor tank with fire. It was too small. So needless to say, I did start building a vertical pit when I was in California, and I didn't get very far with it by the time we moved. So luckily I brought all the parts with me, and when I was over at Steelhouse, I decided to finish it.
Okay.
And that thing was a piece of crap too. I still have it. I still cook on it. But that thing, it was working out pretty good for what I knew. I didn't know any better, because I just came off of working off a piece of shit to another one. We were at this bar, a local bar, and I went in the bathroom, and hanging up in the bathroom was a sign, and it said, barbecue competition, $150 entry, 30 teams, whatever. And I was like, shit, let's do it just for fun. We didn't know. So I went and signed up, and so then I was like, oh crap, I need to practice. I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know anything about, Texas barbecue at this point. So I buy a brisket, never cooked one before in my life, and tried it. It was terrible. Did our chicken, everything, the ribs. The ribs are good because I was cooking ribs in LA. Chicken's good. I was cooking chicken in LA. But the brisket I couldn't get, so I kept talking to. So the guys at the shop that I worked at, we had 17 or 18 guys working for us. They would like it because I would just bring in barbecue all the time. Like, hey, try this. Because I was cooking something every weekend up until the competition. And then they would give me their feedback. Oh, you need this and this and this. So I ended up changing, all the way I was cooking.
Yeah.
So my boy Dave, I've been friends with Dave since we were 19. He moved out to California. He worked with me at the set company. Oh. And then when I moved out here, he came out here a year later, and he worked for me at Steelhouse.
Nice.
Him and I went and were like, hey, let's do this competition. It was right down the street from my house, and we ended up cooking in the competition, and we didn't know what we were doing. This was our first one. All these other guys, they do this stuff for fun.
That's their thing, yeah.
Dave's main job was to keep the fire going, because that pit is a piece of shit, and it's hard to run the fire. So that's his main job. Dave, you keep the fire running. And then we've seen at a place out here, there's a good barbecue place called the Salt Lick. Mm-hmm. It's a big chain. Or not a big chain. They have
three or four. Yeah.
But they're super popular for tourists and stuff, and they have a really cool facility.
Yeah, the location's awesome.
I remember going in there when we first moved here. We were like, "Oh, this is the best place ever. This is the best place ever." But now that I'm in the barbecue scene, we're like, "Okay, we're not going to Salt Lake. We got a million other guys we're going to go see because their barbecue is way better." No offense to Salt Lake. I mean, they got it down. They're doing their thing.
But it's also it's for I have a lot of friends that have gone to like South by Southwest, and they've come back and they're like, I went to the best place in the world, Salt Lake, and it's also the experience. It's a lot of different things.
It's 100% that experience. Yeah. That place is out of control, and you bring your own beer. You show up with a cooler beer.
Oh, that's so
it's
cool.
Like, there's no place like that in LA
at all. There's 100 places in Austin that are nothing like LA that are so amazing.
So at Salt Lake, what they do is they'll take in their big grill thing. They take a handful of pecan shells and they throw it in there, and they start doing that. So Dave and I are at this competition. We had our pecan shells and everything. And I said, Dave, throw some pecan shells in the smoker real quick. And I don't think he didn't realize that I meant like a handful. So he shoveled a shit ton of pecan shells in there. And I'm doing something else. And all of a sudden I'm in like a cloud. And I'm like, what the hell? And I look over and the smoker's just billowing white smoke out the door, out the stack, just everywhere. And we were at the very end, and the wind traveled down, and we smoked everybody out of their camps. Like, everybody was standing in the middle, like, what the hell, you assholes?
Like, what's wrong with you guys?
We're like, sorry, man. We didn't know, We're like, oh, we're trying, whatever. And we were talking to some guys. We're like, this is our first competition, whatever. Sorry, my bad. And, then they found out I was from California, which didn't help. They're like, oh, this jackass,
Probably like a Yankee to them.
Yeah, exactly. Needless to say, man, they start doing awards, and it doesn't count like Chef's Choice and like salsas and margaritas and all that kind of stuff when you're competition. They don't count. They're just bragging rights and money. But we ended up taking a first place salsa, and we couldn't believe it. So I was like, cool. All right, we got money on salsa. And then we didn't get nothing on Chef's Choice, and we made chicken wings. It's like we don't know what to do. We got a second place chicken, a first place rib, and a second place brisket, and we took grand champion of the whole thing.
What the heck?
Yeah. So it was a huge payday. I walked away with like $2,500 to $2,800 in prize money.
That's cool.
It was ridiculous. And like I said, it was our first one. So getting into the smoker question, I mean, this is a long story.
No, it's great though. It's interesting.
But that lit a fire under me, and I was like, oh my God, I want to do this. So I took all the prize money, and I went out and I bought a 250-gallon propane tank. I bought, I'm from California. We got to be somewhat flashy. I bought $1,200 all black, matte black trailer rims with good tires on them.
So is that where you got that thing? Because I noticed that's part of your thing, the wheels and the rims, and that's part of your style, right?
That's the new style. Yeah, on my competition pits.
Yeah, those.
But the other one was they were real trailer wheels though, because I'm like, I'm going to build me a competition trailer. And needless to say, I started that.
What year was that?
Oh man, we did that competition in 2015.
Okay.
So shit, it's been 5 years and the trailer's still not done. I don't know if you've seen my stuff on Instagram, but the trailer I have, the trailer that my shop pit is on, my 375 that I'm cooking on now, is the trailer I started 4.5 years ago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I ended up getting a 375-gallon tank from a guy that came to one of our shop parties. I'm sure we'll get into that later.
Okay, yeah.
And he's like, man, my buddy has this tank. And so needless to say, I got the 375-gallon, and it's the same diameter as the 250. So I took the 250 off the trailer, and I said, I'm just going to build me a normal offset, put it on there, and now it's becoming the shop pit.
Were you in competitions all around Texas or outside of Texas?
Just in Texas. I just go to the local ones.
But you got the bug. How many were you doing back then?
Oh, I was only doing 2 a year, maybe. Okay. So it's not very many.
You weren't completely addicted. You just thought you had a good time. You just enjoyed it.
Oh, it's so much fun. Yeah. Well, and it's expensive though. If you're not winning all of them, then you're not getting any prize money back. Then it just becomes an expense.
Yeah, definitely.
Fun though.
So then, how did the transition go to selling?
Actually, after I started building mine, it was still a hobby. Mm-hmm. And then what was it? Well, my boy Jay Tinney, he has Tinney Barbecue out here. He's a caterer. Him and I became really good friends because he was friends with my old boss at Steelhouse, and that's how we met. And I did a bunch of stuff inside Jay Tinney's catering trailer, just cosmetic stuff. He's got a really nice trailer, and it was just mounting different aspects for him. Mm. So he approached me one time about making a charcoal basket because he runs a Jambo pit on his competition stuff. And he's like, I need a new coal basket. Can you make me a charcoal basket here and there? So I'm like, yeah, I'll make a charcoal basket. So I made him one, and he's like, all right, this is cool. He's like, you should sell these to the guys in the competitions and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And I kind of left it at that. And then I really didn't do much. And then Banger Sausage House out here in Austin, Ben over there, he contracted me to do their 7-foot vertical and their 2 hog boxes for their new smokehouse. And
the gorgeous. Have
you seen them in person? Or
I haven't. I've only seen them actually photos, and then when I was interviewing them, they filmed them, and then I've only seen them virtually I was supposed to come out for the Leroy and Lewis class. I had flights, I had hotel, I paid for the class. The class was cheaper for people out of state, and then my mom had back surgery, so she fell, and I'm taking care of her. I was gonna go and hang out with Ben and Chef Ted and hang out, because I wanted to see your work. Okay, so was that your first then commercial one?
Those were my first commercial pits.
Impressive.
Oh, thanks. It was cool. Well, you know, Ben's a California kid too, so
True.
I get his style or what he wants. You know, he likes to be a little extreme, you know. And Chef Ted, he doesn't give a shit. He just wants shit to work.
Yeah,
Ted's like, I don't care what they look like. They just need to work. And Ben's like, they need to work, but they need to be cool at the same time.
Yeah, they do.
It ended up working out, you know, and they're actually pretty awesome. I'm really proud, you know, of them, and I'm glad that Ben gave me the opportunity to do that. And that kind of what got me my name out there to a couple people. But honestly, it didn't really kick off on the smoker world until after I did the banger stuff and I started getting a couple people following me on Instagram. I think I was up to like 400 followers maybe. I was really kicking ass, taking names, you know.
Yeah.
So I saw, I made a Argentinian cross for Ben for Passover. He asked me to make him one so they could do a goat. So I made him one for his house at Passover. And my best friend right now is such a good guy. And man, him and we talk 3-4 times a day, is Stephen Rossler with Rossler's Blue Cord Barbecue.
One of the coolest guys on the planet.
Yeah, he's so rad. So I wasn't friends with him, but he hit me up in the DMs and he says, I need one of those crosses. How much are they? And I hit him up with the price. He's like, all right, cool. You know, let me get money together or whatever, and I'll, you know, figure it out. Then I never heard from him again. I started following him, though, after that. And I remember he made a post with the pit that he had at the time. It was called the Duke. It was a Jambo knockoff on a trailer that he bought off of somebody else. Mm-hmm. He posted this picture of this flat grate, you know, that was just mounted in his deal. And he goes, I'm so stoked with my new coal rack. And I was like, really? I DM'd him a picture of the one I made for Jay Tinney. And I said, dude, you got to try out one of my, you know, coal baskets. They're cutting your fuel consumption down by half. And next thing you know, he hits me up. He goes, all right, that looks awesome. I want one. How much are they? And I told him, I said, dude, I'll do it for you for free. I said, just start blasting me on your social media or something so I can get my 400 followers or wherever I was at, 350. And he's like, really? And I said, yeah, man, no problem. A couple hours later, I sent him a picture. I'm like, I'm done. How do you want to get it? And he's like, man, I'll be coming through. He's like, I'll be coming through because Colleen's way up here. Mm-hmm. I'm in the middle. And he was going down to I don't know where he was going, man, San Antonio or something. But he was taking the toll road out. And he goes, I'm going to be headed through Austin. I said, no worries, man. I'll meet you on the side of the road somewhere. So we found an area just on the side that we literally came off the freeway and then right back on again. And I met him in this dirt lot for the first time. I handed him his basket. We took a picture, shaking hands together. You know, he put it on social media. And then it was that point in time, it was that free coal basket that, you know, I handed this guy. It started, you know, this is going to be a lifelong friendship.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
It's ridiculous. And we were just going back and forth here and there just on Instagram. And, you know, and then we started texting each other. And then he hit me up and said, hey, man, I got this pit on a trailer. I need to get it off the trailer. I need to be able to put it in my garage. Can you help me out with this? And I said, yeah, no problem. So he ended up bringing his trailer down to my old shop. And I'm looking at him going, holy crap, dude, this thing's a piece of crap. But this was like his livelihood, you know? Yeah. He's like, we're starting our catering business. I can't do it on this trailer. I need this pit to work. The doors weren't closing properly. The firebox wouldn't close. There's just a whole bunch of different stuff. So I said, yeah, I'll do the job. And he dropped off the trailer at my shop. Him and his wife and his girls, they went to the Switch Barbecue, which is down the street here in Dripping. Yeah. And they ate. And then they left the Switch. And I called up Steve and I said, hey, are you still at the Switch? And he goes, no, we left. He goes, but I'm like 15 minutes away. And I said, well, why don't you come back and pick up this trailer? And he goes, oh, you're not going to do it? I said, no, I got the pit off already. Come pick up the trailer and get it out of here. And he's like, there's no way you got the pit off. And I had that pit off instantly.
That's so funny.
Oh, and I was kind of pumped to do it. You know, I was pretty excited. This veteran, or he's not even a veteran, he's still active duty.
True.
You know? 20-year Army vet, cool guy. So he came back and he's like, what the hell? And he picked up the trailer. He ended up selling it that same weekend. So he got rid of the trailer. And then every time I started touching different aspects of that pit, I was like, man, I need to fix this for this guy. You know, the doors don't close. I need to fix this so he has draft. I need to fix this so his door works. So this got me into the pits. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. Now I kind of know what I'm up against. I know what I'm doing, you know, to a certain extent. And I started messing around. And then the big wheels came in and stuff like that. At first, it was going to be like casters. And I'm like, no, I'm going to buy this guy these wheels. And then it became the Element of Surprise, which is the name of his pit. And I had the cart powder coated by James Brooks of Brooks Industrial Coatings up here in Austin.
Oh, that's cool.
And he had the literal military green powder coat because he had a contract with the military. So he still had.
That's how that happened. Okay.
So crazy. So he still had real powder. So we did the cart in the Army green. I painted the pit black, and I put Rossler's logo and his statement, on his firebox. And so anyway, Steven came to pick it up, and that's kind of where I started. That was like starting the reveal process. No parties. It was just his wife, my wife, and his kids and stuff. But I kind of made it a big deal. I made him turn around and all that stuff. It brought the pit outside, and then he turned around and saw it, and the look on his face, and he got all, choked up because this was his, this was the start of his business. This was, if you ever, you've talked to Steven, right?
Yeah.
So
I think we talked for almost an hour. It was one of my favorite interviews of all time.
His backstory is, great, and how barbecue saved his life and stuff. And it's that pit that was saving his life that he got from another buddy of his. And now to have it revamped into what it is now, it was just an emotional connection to him. He literally was gagging and almost threw up in my parking lot.
Wow.
Like, we have it all on video. It's pretty epic. And that right there, I saw that it's like, oh my God, people get emotional about their barbecue.
Their connection, yeah.
And that's kind of where I got into doing the ones with the cartwheels. And it was after Steven's pit got done, my boy Jay Tinney, he says, man, I keep breaking my ankles every time I move this Jambo because it's on those little steel wheels and you got to lift up the front end.
Yeah.
There's a crossbar right there. You hit your shin in it every time you walk. And you're like, no offense. I mean, he's been doing those forever, but if you're not paying attention and you overstep, you hit your shin in that. Yeah. So Jay's like, can you take this off of the cart and build me a cart? So the next one I built was for Jay Tinney, and that cart came out so awesome. And then I started picking up interest because of those carts.
Were you Backline then?
Yeah, Backline Fabrication. I was in my own company. I started my company in January of 2017.
And the name Backline?
It comes from being out in Hollywood and doing stuff with the entertainment, with the music side of the entertainment aspect. So all the guys that run the cabling, set up all the instruments. It's basically all the guys that put the concert together on stages. That's considered the backline. So those are the guys that you never really see. They're running, they make sure everything's tuned in. Those are the guys during rehearsal that are actually playing the drums, playing the guitars and all that, making sure everything's tuned in properly. So came up with Backline Fabrication because I
love that so much.
I wanted to stay in that entertainment business part. And I'm like, you know what? Why not call it Backline Fabrication? Because what I want to do is still stage props and things like that. I'm the guy behind the scenes and all that. So it just made sense to me to use Backline Fabrication.
But is Backline Smokers, is that like an entity within Backline Fabrication?
That's my line. Yeah. The Backline Smokers is the line that Backline Fabrication produces.
That's cool. That's genius. That's so smart because you could stay in both worlds.
Yeah. And it's like, South by Southwest is usually a huge thing for us. Like the whole shop becomes a set shop in February because that's all we do is stuff for South by. Unfortunately, things were real weird this year. And so there's an unfortunate and a fortunate of this year is, unfortunately, I only had a couple calls and lost the bids on them for South by. I was really bummed out. I'm like, man, I'm not doing anything for South by. And that usually is 1/3 of your income for the year.
I can imagine.
It's huge. So I'm like, man, I got no jobs for South by. Yeah. What am I going to do? And I'm like, well, I got all these lineups of smokers. I said, let me just, I'll just keep these smokers going and knock my list down. And then this whole COVID thing got crazy and they shut down South by. And there's a bunch of people that are they're screwed on their final payment.
I can see that. That's how business works. Yeah.
So South by got canceled 3 days before the setup would start for South by. So 3 days before setup, you're pretty much done. So you're waiting on that final payment. And I would have not got final payment, which would have really probably, shut my company down at that point.
And you possibly would never get that payment. There's companies that probably are going under or they have no cash flow.
So it was kind of a win and a lose.
Yeah. No, I get it. No, it's
with that going away, and now everybody being locked in their houses and all this other stuff. I think, like I said, for me, by working by myself, every once in a while, my buddy Brady will come in from Waco, and he'll do like 3 days, help me. So the last 2 weeks, I've had him for 6 days total, giving me help on doing a bunch of live fire stuff. What it's doing now is it's allowing me to catch up on the whole lineup. Hopefully by the time we're out of this COVID deal, I'll be on a fresh start with a whole new lineup. So my turnaround times will be way faster than they are right now.
Let's talk about what you offer and your lead times, because when we talked a couple months, like a month ago, sort of like 3 weeks ago, your lead times are better than a lot of people.
What I have, I think it was 2,400 square feet, and then I ate up. Think my office with the bathroom area is maybe 300 square feet. So, but I have an open floor plan, which is lucky because when I moved into this building, it was just built, and I found these 2 units before they pre-assembled their normal offices, because I have 2 buildings, or I have 2 office spaces or warehouse spaces, and then I got 2 doors that are like right next to each other because one's for one building, one's for the other. But that's usually where they build this huge office, and then it leaves you a real minimal storage area or workspace. So luckily I got in here before they did that, and that was part of my contract where they moved the plumbing. I mean, on the floor I got a cut going all the way through because they moved all the plumbing back to the back corner for the bathroom, just for me, which was awesome. But once I leave, I mean, someone needs to get both units at this point.
So is it in Dripping?
It's right on the border of Dripping. Yeah, I'm off of Fitzhugh, right next to Jester King Brewery.
Oh, yeah. I'm
dead center on Fitzhugh between 290 and 12. Which gets you into Dripping, the back of Dripping, right by Treaty Oaks Distillery and stuff. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That's a nice thing because I'm connected to them a little bit. Like, they're a sponsor of them.
Treaty Oaks 1,000 gallon for their Alice restaurant.
Oh, you built 1,000 gallon for them?
I am. They're in the queue. Yeah, they're coming up.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. And Alice's, I want to visit there too. And they've had to deal with this whole COVID thing with the to-go and takeout. Like, it's amazing how it affects so many people. But they're still open, right? And they do some grocery stuff, I think, right now.
Yeah, you can get groceries there. You can get toilet paper.
What do you offer, and what are your lead times right now? And then what do you assume, say this thing ends in June, July, what would your lead times be then, you think?
In my mind, well, we offer anything we do live fire stuff. I do stuff called the 3-in-1, which is a live fire unit. I don't know, there's 3 of them sitting on that pallet jack right there. Those are just the starts, so I got to still put the legs and wheels on those.
Okay.
So we got those 3-in-1s. I do what's called the multi-tool, which is a 36-inch disc on wheels that works like a multi-tool, like the little pocket knife thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Or Swiss Army knife. On the disc, basically your grates or whatever you're cooking with will slide out around the back. So then you can put them up and over the fire. Cool. You can do you can interchange them however you want. And if you come up with a different idea, or I have a different idea of a different kind of cooking deal, you can always pop one of the 2 or 3 off and then put a new one on and swivel that in place. So it's got a full functionality of whatever you can think of. We could put an iron cross on there. And it doubles up. We use Stephen Rossler. He's got one. We cooked on his here at a couple pit reveal parties. And, when it's cold, you take all the shit off and you use it as a fire pit. So
I saw that. That was cool. Yeah, that's right.
So those are some of the live fire stuff. We build smaller versions too. I do Santa Maria grills. Any size. That. Yeah, so I'll go from a 2 foot by 2 foot Santa Maria on up. And those are all chain driven. Everything's down from below, so you have an open area up top. And then from the Santa Maria, then we'll go into the smokers. I offer a backyard version smoker, which is a 24-inch diameter by 48-inch long cooking chamber.
Oh, cool. Okay.
It comes with all my pits come with insulated fireboxes, and they all come with foldable stacks. And the reason I put a foldable stack on everything, even the backyard, is the main reason. Even like Stephen Rossler's little pit that he has, it doesn't have a foldable stack. We had to cut the stack down, I think 8 inches from what it was, so it could fit into his garage. So I do them. So if you ever want to take your pit anywhere and you rent a U-Haul trailer or whatever, they'll all fit inside a U-Haul. They'll all fit in your garage. However you need to haul it from here to wherever you're going,
that's a great feature.
It's honestly, it's not like it's super hard to do where it's like, oh man, I'm going to save myself 4 days by not doing a fold down. No, you're saving a couple hours, because you're making the stack anyway.
Yeah.
So instead of welding it, you're just making a pivot.
And you could do any size pit.
Yeah. Yep. So if you step up from
the backyard,
which comes on skids or legs or whatever people are calling them.
Yeah, I've heard it all.
Yeah, right. So even on the backyard, you can add casters, or on the backyard, you can upgrade to a wagon cart with the golf cart wheels. Mm-hmm. But at that point, you might as well get a competition pit, because the competition, that's the same, it'll end up being the same price as the starting point of a competition pit.
Oh, nice.
And the competition pits are 5 feet long, 24 inches in diameter, and they all have the insulated firebox fold down stack, but the comp pits come on from the get-go a cart with the golf cart wheels.
Nice.
Basically, you're getting a foot longer cooking chamber. They all come with the 24 by 24 insulated firebox. Nice. Like I said, fold down stack. They're either painted black or left raw or clear coated raw. Mm. And I do offer upgrades on the paint jobs. I think you've seen some of my paint jobs.
Yeah, come out some killer ones. Yeah,
that's always fun.
It fits the person's personality, which is nice.
Right. That's one thing that we like to do, is I like to build my pits to the person who's buying them. Which, I mean, in the aspect, if you look at things, I'm trying to build a pit that no one wants to get rid of, that you want to keep it forever. Mm-hmm. And especially if it's customized to you with your name in the paint job, something else. I mean, you'd have to really sand that thing down if you want to sell it to somebody.
Yeah, definitely. You're forced to keep it for it stays. No, but it's nice. That's cool.
But sometimes it's like some of them are themed. Like I made a pit for a guy in Katy, Texas.
Yeah.
And he's an Oklahoma Sooners fan, and so we did a boomer pit for him, and nice. He does have his barbecue logo on there, but it's like the pit actually is more Sooner based, so he could literally turn that thing around in a heartbeat and sell it to another Oklahoma.
Another Oklahoma
right away. So there's certain customizations that are kind of, vague and wide open, but like Barton's Barbecue, I made him a pit. He's got a 3-stage automotive paint job on his. His logo's never coming out. I mean, you really have to sandblast the whole thing to get it off, But I don't think he ever plans on selling it.
And you're not buying it to turn it over. Like, that's a weird thing.
Yeah, right.
It's not like house flipping or something. It's But this day and age, who knows? Like, people might need money. Like, it's a weird time. But now and then, what's your lead time?
As of right now, because of everything that I have lined up that we're trying to smash out, I'm looking at, what are we in right now? April? Mm-hmm. I'm looking at June. I'll be able to start pits.
Okay.
And then depending on which one you get, depends on how long it takes. As of like the live fire pieces, like the 3-in-1s, I'm doing those on top of other things. So a live fire deal I can turn around in a couple weeks. So
well, that's awesome.
It's the pits that take longer, and those are the ones that I don't want to rush. I don't want to try stacking too many on top of each other, because then I don't want to lose the drive and the incentive I have for that customer that I'm building it for.
Yeah, you want to stay focused on what you're doing
and keep my mind 100% on their needs. So if I get too many going, then I think I'll lose that aspect and then become.
That's how in general in life. It's good to stay focused on a small amount of things, because you get too spread out and then it's hard to keep passionate about one specific thing.
Otherwise, you feel buried. You're like, ugh, really?
Yeah, then it's a job, and it's not. But this is actually the perfect time for someone to place an order with you, because things are going to be closed for a while, and if in that way, while you're producing, or when the time comes, say the fall, the project will be done, and you could actually be ready to be open, or be ready to have your second pit, or whatever you need.
Yeah, right now with me, it's 100% correct. Right now is the best time to order because of that.
Yeah.
Where, some of the other guys that are big heavy hitters in this, I mean, you order now, you're still waiting till 2 summers from now to get your pit.
Yes, I know. Yes, it's
amazing.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
But it just shows that there's need for that, but also there's need for because not everyone can wait 14 months or 16 months.
Yeah, and there's good things to 14, 15, 24-month wait, being like if you are somebody who's starting a business or you have these restaurant plans, like let's just use Bangers, for example. We were talking about those pits at Bangers for 2 years.
Wow.
That's how long everything took in the process. And then, they started building that addition. And then it was still until they started building that addition, it still waited months upon months until I was able to start the pits. For them, a 24-month turnaround is perfect for that kind of aspect. But for another guy who's like, man, I just lost my job, I got nothing to do, but I always wanted to open up a pop-up or something. I need a pit in 2 months. Well, then
you're the guy,
the perfect guy to call, because I'll knock you out a pit in 2 months, especially if something came up to where it's a real personal thing and it was like somebody's life depended on it. There's certain things that I could dance around to get them their pit a little bit sooner, to keep them off the streets and keep their family fed type stuff. And that I have the ability to do that because I am such a small operation and I have limited things going on right now. I mean, trust me, I'd like to have a 2-year waiting list. I just don't have it yet.
Yet.
I need that. I would love to have that constant income coming in.
Yeah, that's secure, and that's security. But it's also, people can DM you or call you and discuss it. And if it's really urgent, you'll brainstorm and figure out a way to make it work.
And honestly, it's for me, it's a lot of helping the people, helping the customers, and all that kind of stuff. And I help out all my other customers. If I have to bump someone, I'll take few $100 out of profit on the new job and I'll pay them. I'll be like, hey, here's a couple $100. I need to bump you another 3 weeks or something,
Yeah.
I think that's the right thing to do because everyone's waiting for their stuff anyway.
Yeah.
But sometimes they don't need their pit. They
it's
just
not as
want
urgent as.
Yeah, it's not like they're gonna make a living off of cooking. They just want to cook in their backyard.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of guys, where you could talk to them, and I'm sure a lot of them will be cool. And then that's how you could fit other people in. Right now, I don't have to do that, but
exactly. That's true.
We've thought about it 100%. I've talked to my wife about it, and we're like, well, what if somebody called right now and it was like urgent for them they had to be cooking on something right away, which is also why I spent 3.5 weeks making my shop pit. So if it came up to it where someone had to be cooking,
they could
take my trailer and start cooking and doing what they do, why I built their pit. That was another reason why I wanted that shop. Well, plus I wanted one to cook on.
That's a selfish reason, but also too, that's a great option for people. I think I had seen some stuff where you said that somebody borrowed. Did Trey borrow it one time, or
Trey used it. He he had his whole setup up where he's at up by Grapevine. He called me and he goes, man, I don't want to haul my trailer and all this stuff down there, for this wedding. You have something I can use? And I said, I don't. I said, but I will by the time you need it for the wedding. So literally I finished that thing the day before the wedding.
And that's Trey from Vaqueros Barbecue.
Yep.
So then let's let's end this with the reveal party. I know that things are different now, like the 6 feet thing, but talk about the last reveal party.
The last reveal party we did was for John Brotherton at Liberty Barbecue.
Round Rock.
That one was pretty epic. I mean, a lot of people showed up. We had crap weather. People were standing in the rain. It was.
You had like 30 cameras or something, or like 10 cameras.
We had a lot of people. A lot of cameras running. Alton from the Dogfather Barbecue, his YouTube page, he did a whole video.
I'll put a link to that in this because that was cool. I saw that. Yeah.
It was pretty neat, and that pit was by far one of my top faves for sure.
Beautiful
paint job and everything else.
You're watching this on YouTube because I'll have a YouTube version as well as the podcast. And if you're on the podcast, jump to the YouTube. Now I'm gonna take from your Instagram photos of a number of your pits because I think it'd be cool for people to see your work. I think it's important, and that I'll show that pit for sure.
Awesome, yeah. And then those legs on the pit are, the part that hold the pit up. If you saw those, they're way different. No one in the world has anything like that.
I've never seen that.
Of a kind.
What was it like working with John?
Oh, he's amazing. He's the nicest guy in the world. He, he doesn't add any pressure for anything. Just kind of keep him in the loop with different stuff. And he even said it on the little interview he was doing at the reveal party with the Dogfather. It's on that video. He was saying that I literally called him up and I was like, hey, John, I didn't call him, I texted him. I said, hey, John, do I really need to do this pit in red, white, and blue, or can I just make the same Scream America? And he's like, Scream America. And I was like, oh, thank God. Because original talks was he wanted like red, white, and blue. And And I was looking at the pit as I was doing it, and I already had the Liberty Bell idea for the feet. I was like, man, it would just be too, I don't even, tacky. Is that the word?
Yeah. It just wouldn't work. It wouldn't make sense.
It wouldn't work. And as soon as he said, make it scream America, I was like, oh, this is on.
And it does. That's something also too that you could see, regardless of whatever happens to anything in the world, like he would want to keep that forever. That's beautiful.
Oh, it's pretty crazy. I told him, I said, man, it's too bad we didn't put this one on a trailer so it could go to all the events like Texas.
Oh, that's a good, yeah.
Him and I, we've talked about, well, depending on before COVID-19, we're talking about, a mobile version of something or other here and there, but hopefully that comes up in the mix.
That's awesome. So what are the best ways for people to get a hold of you?
Some of the best way I would say would be to email me.
Okay.
And that's Ryan at backlinefab.com.
Okay.
I always see those. Every once in a while, I'll miss a couple hits when it comes to my DM on Instagram.
Yeah, that's kind of hard.
Always DM me on Instagram, or comment on some stuff on Instagram, and then I'll bump you into the DMs. And that's Backline Fab. That's at Backline Fab on Instagram. And then we have our Facebook page, which is Backline Fabrication.
If you're going on a world tour, still send you an email.
Send me an email.
What you need is like someone that like needs pits on a world tour, like combine both worlds somehow.
I know, right? Wouldn't that be epic?
This is cool, and I'm so glad it's taken us a while to get this going, but I'm really excited. And it's funny because Trey I was writing him back. I was getting a shirt from him, and I'm buying a shirt from him, and so he's like, "Oh, you're talking to Ryan tomorrow," and I'm like, "How do you know?"
I talk to Trey quite often.
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
He's another dude, man, that started off, social media type stuff, and he hit me up on the DMs, and he goes, "Hey, man, I'm going to be coming down to Austin. Can I come by the shop?" And man, we've been friends ever since.
Yeah. There's a lot of good people in this business, aren't there?
Yeah, 100%.
And that's why I'm just trying to do as many things as I can to help this industry, because I love it so much, and I hate that so many places have had to close or are struggling, and it affects so many people.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking because a lot of people put their entire lives into this,
And a lot of people like jumped to this like 6 months ago.
It's terrible.
Anything that you need, let me know, because I want to help us all out. I have a platform. It's not giant, but I'm getting traffic and people, so I'd love to help you out.
That's awesome, man, and very much appreciated. Like I said, we're still low guy on the totem pole over here, so as much help as we can get, we'll take it.
I see great things for you.
But if I get this name out there, it'll help.
It will. No, I see great things for you for sure, Ryan, and I've only heard great things about you as a person, so that's important too.
That's good. Tell me who they are. I gotta send them a check.
Yeah, I'll find out. I'll send you the list. Well, have a great day. Be safe,
man. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Take care.
All right, bud. Have a good one.
Thanks so much.